Green on second effort dives across the goal line. He's in for the Spider touchdown. Shotgun formation. Comes from Richie Diggs. Now BMI's first offensive play is intercepted. It's going to be a pick six. It's a touchdown. Richmond Spiders. Iowa Goody stepped right in front of the receiver. Cobb is hit, and this one's picked off by Madison Day at the 50. Can he get in? He does! Madison Day with the interception, and another pick six for the Spider defense. Some of the highlights from the first 3 weeks of the Spiders football season as we review what has happened to this point, and now we begin to look ahead to CAA football conference play that kicks off this Saturday at Robins Stadium, 3:30 against the Maine Black Bears. Hi everyone, welcome, good afternoon, welcome to the Spiders Sportsline from Outback Steakhouse, 7917 West Broad Street. Glad you joined us, whether you're in the restaurant about to have lunch with us, talk some Spider and college football, or if you're listening on air or online. Thanks for being a part of the program today. You can chime in at 622-950 or shoot us an email. We'll get to the inbox a little bit later in the show, spidersportsline@richmond.edu. Coach Rocco, let's start with the self-analysis that you said last week you would probably do with your guys this week, because 3 games into the season is a pretty good survey to look at what you've done to this point and an opportunity.
A lot done. I really felt that it was a very productive week. We practiced Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Gave them Saturday off. We were back out there Sunday night, kind of with our normal game week preparation. I think some things that jump out at me is we're protecting the ball a lot better this year than we did last year. Critical game. Started to get a little momentum with taking the ball. For us this year is to be able to maximize that turnover. Some good stuff in the red zone. I really think offensively that if we don't run it well early, it doesn't mean we're going to abandon the run game. We're going to stay with it, because sometimes it takes a little time. So thought there's a lot of positive things, and I really felt that we had great energy and for the week of preparation, and now we're into game week, now we're into CAA play, and everything really picks up in its intensity.
As coaches, did you sit down with the tape of the first 3 games and every position coach kind of pick apart what's happened through the first 3 games? As you mentioned, if it had been 6-7 games into the season, maybe that's not as easy to do, but 3 games into the season, did everybody kind of pick apart their position?
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun to do, because we enjoy the strength. In the course of the game week, you have so many things that are pressing, in terms of time and game planning and strategy, and then offering messages to your players and having your players ready to play and organizing practice. And so this was a week that we just were able to spend a little more time, kind of just studying our product and looking at what we're doing and what we've done well, who we're doing it with, how we can do it better, maybe who could do it better. And in those discussions, you get an awful lot of good exchange of ideas. So you're running 3 games and evaluate the entire video of
out a little bit, I assume, and do some recruiting, some Friday night football, that kind of thing?
We did. We had Coach Woods, who's our associate head coach and our recruiting coordinator, on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of last week. Coach Mines was on the road. Coach McCorkle was on the road. So I really just sent 3 guys out but they were pretty extensive in what they were trying to get done. And we've really been in hard on a bunch of our target schools and target prospects. And then they got back Wednesday. We hit the practice field Wednesday afternoon at 3, and then we just kind of, flowed through a relatively normal week with the Wednesday, Thursday practice, and then with the Friday practice. Gave the guys Saturday off, and oh my gosh, couldn't believe how much good football there was. It was unbelievable to have the time to sit around and watch some of those games.
See what you're missing by being a football
That's
coach.
exactly right.
I was going to ask you that. How did you spend your Saturday? But apparently, I know now that you were a football junkie.
I'm a junkie. There were a couple I thought really key CAA games to watch, and common opponents and things along those lines that had an awful lot of my attention. So. It's amazing from week to week how things happen. Just one, there's VMI. VMI goes down to Furman, and they really have Furman beat until the very, very end of the game. Furman blocks a punt. I think they take a lead or tie the game with that. But, so you just never know from week to week, and that's why it's important each and every week that you're ready to go emotionally, psychologically, obviously physically, and have that confidence of a champion, yet have that attitude of that underdog. You have to have that edge each and every week.
How much are you a fan when you watch those games on the off week, and how much are you a coach?
Yeah, I struggle being a fan.
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy watching it as much as I should. I'm always trying to figure things out and anticipate or try to be involved in some sort of a decision-making process, and opposed to just sitting there and rooting for a team, and it's kind of a shame that I can't sit there and just root for a team, but I really, do enjoy. I'm always trying to find out, how's this going to impact us? That's an odd thing to say, but how does this impact us? And it's amazing how all these games get played out. Somehow, some way, they do impact you. Maryland winning or Maryland losing impacts your season, and so there's so many layers and levels of that you're always looking for some of those common denominators. Then Julie and I have been at so many programs. We do have some affection for some of those places that we've been, so we're always trying to watch it. We watched Texas there at the very end. Guy dropped the punt against Oklahoma State. They had Oklahoma State beat. Mike Gundy and I worked together at Maryland. So there's all these common threads that are out there that I do enjoy. But at the end of the day, I'm just kind of a football junkie.
Hey, you mentioned you had good practices. To you as a coach, what does that mean, and how different were they on a bye week where you didn't have the sense of urgency that on Saturday you were going to kick it off? I hate to use the word relaxed, but I think you know what I'm talking about with your guys, that there wasn't that sense of immediacy that they were going to tee it up and kick it off on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we did, and I decided to shorten practice, and it's kind of like, why would you shorten it when on an open week? And because I wanted to address what you're talking about. I wanted to have the energy, the enthusiasm out there. So, hey, here's the deal, guys. It's not 2 hours, it's an hour and 40 minutes, but I want to see some execution, some energy, some enthusiasm out there. And they really gave it to us. And I really felt Friday was a really, really good day for us, a good practice day. And it was important to me to kind of get everybody focused back in on the task at hand, most immediately the upcoming game here against Maine, but then the start of conference play. And so I wanted to kind of jumpstart that, and I think we did, and they came out and responded real well. And so I think we're right on track here, heading into conference play. We have a couple guys that I wish we had, healthy, that are not or may not be. But again, that is the nature of it. I think we all tracked a little bit of the Villanova game. Was that a Thursday night game?
Thursday night game.
So I'm tracking Villanova Thursday night, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then, you read between the lines, 3 offensive linemen don't play. Okay, the starting quarterback doesn't play. So for them to not be able to get on track, it's not all that shocking, but it's so much a part of the game that you got to be able to get the right people in the right places and make the right decisions personnel-wise moving forward. And I think we were able to do a little bit of that here this week with the open date. And we brought our younger kids along. We offered more repetition to the younger players during the course of practice. Whereas during game week, they're a little bit more of a sidebar, go out there for a play or two. But now they had a chance to get on film, get on tape, get coached the next day, get evaluated at a higher level. So, and then when they're all working, I think it just creates more energy in the practice. Because our older players love watching the younger players excel. It's kind of a neat thing. Check it out on game day. If you're fortunate enough in a game, like in a VMI game, we had a chance to make some substitutions. And these guys are watching these young kids play, and they are 100% jacked up and into it. So there's a lot of value in that. I think you're only as strong as your weakest link, and there's a reality that's the uniqueness of football. It's a team sport, and you can't just have 12, 15, 18 guys that are fired up and ready to go. It needs to permeate through your entire roster.
We will get that perspective from our special player guest coming up here in a few minutes. Jeriel Jordan on the defensive side had a big fumble recovery down in the red zone a week ago against VMI. And then Thomas Evans, who we've talked about on this show and brought him on this week, anchor of that offensive line for the Spiders. We'll talk with him as well. So Thomas Evans, Jeriel Jordan coming up here in a few minutes. Don't take those headsets off just yet, Coach, because you know who's going to talk to you now before we get to the break.
What's say, Ivan?
Ivan, there you go. Coach is ready for you.
Hey, Ivan.
There you go. How you both doing today?
Excellent.
Great. Bob, there's one question I want to ask you first.
Fire away. A little nervous.
With oil beating this, is it harder for you to do a TV game or a radio game? When you were the play-by-play man on TV or radio?
It's different. I mean, that's the first TV game we've done with Spider TV Saturday. Thought it went really well. Blake Elliott, our director, is here today. He just kind of guided me through it. So that made it a lot easier, let's put it that way. And we'll do Saturdays again, so we're looking forward to it.
Okay, I just was curious about that. Well, Coach, well, I'm glad you had a good off week. And Bob took all the pressure about what you do during the off week. But so what can you tell us about Maine this week? Who are some of the key players we can look at Maine? And are there any players who are injured, who are coming back from injury that for us that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I think that when you look at Maine Black Bears, I think you're looking at a program that has had an awful lot of consistency for an extended period of time. Jack Cosgrove's, I think, in his 23rd season. They've certainly had some banner seasons up there. 2 years ago, 2 years ago, they won the CAA championship outright, so they do a great job. They are a very rugged, blue-collar, physical group of student athletes that compete at a high level, and they practice and they play very hard, very physical, and that's kind of their trademark. And that's kind of who they are. And some years, they got more talent than other years, but the consistency is their style of play. They're going to be physical. Their defense is going to be aggressive. They're going to try to get in the backfield. And then from year to year, the talent kind of dictates, how successful they are. And, this year, their defense is a little ahead of their offense. They got 3 or 4 guys in their front 7 that'll be first or second team all CAA. 1 or 2 of them have already been that. So their front 7 is really solid. They're physical. And they're experienced. On the back end, they're a little bit younger on the back end. They look athletic and talented, but they're not nearly as experienced. And then offensively, they've been running the ball pretty well here of late, and they use 2 tight ends a lot of big bodies in the offensive line, and a lot of play action passes. They try to bootleg and take shots down the field, and right now they got 2 quarterbacks that are playing at a pretty good level. So it's obviously going to be a real challenge for us. I'm very excited about playing this one here at home, and we're hopeful to get Brian back. Ivan, here for the game. Brian is the healthiest that he's been here since we left Hampton. So I think there's some real optimism that he'll be in uniform and ready to play. But it's like so many other things. He's, when Brian's 100% healthy, he's a rare player. He's a great player at this level, and hopefully he can get back to being at that level because he certainly could be a difference maker each and any week of the season.
Yeah. I'm also curious about how much does the weather play in your impacting how you play the game. I know you can't always foresee, bad weather or anything, but how much does the weather play in dictating many outcomes of the game?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I say this about a lot of things. I'll say, after a game, everything's a factor, but nothing's an excuse. So it's like when someone would say to you after the game, was the wind a factor? Well, of course the wind's a factor. I mean, it's windy, It's raining. Was the rain a factor? Of course it's a factor. But it's never an excuse. It's just what team is able to handle the elements the best, So there's a possibility this weekend we could get some rain. I think it's going to be more wet during the course of the week. But I believe that, practicing in it, having some familiarity with it, being at home in those situations, and then just a focus on the ball. There is so much attention on the ball, 24/7, but in particular in a game where you have some weather, your ability to secure the football offensively in every phase, and then defensively your ability to have ball awareness, to see it, to be aware of where it is, and if you have a chance to punch it out, you got to punch it out of there. It's in watching games this weekend, it's amazing how many times I saw bad snaps in the shotgun, over the head, or the guy's not looking, hits him in the shoulder pad, and so now you got a wet ball, and the quarterback's kind of looking downfield trying to read the safety rotation. Here comes the snap, and that's a ball he catches 99 times out of 100, but his eyes are still wandering a bit. So there's got to be attention on the ball in those situations, and practicing in it this week should really allow us to harp on that all week long.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck in this week's game.
I appreciate you, Ivan.
That's your saying of the day. We're going to have a Coach Rocco saying of the day on this show.
Well, what's it?
So this week it was everything is a factor, nothing is an excuse.
Right.
Last week it was victory is the trump card.
That was appropriate last week.
Yes, it was. See, I remember them too. So we're going to have Coach Rocco's saying of the week, brought to you by Carolyn's here somewhere. There's a great opportunity. Coach Rocco's saying of the week, brought to you by
Carolyn.
Something.
Carolyn.
Come up with something. There we go. All right, we'll come back with Thomas Evans and Jerry L. Jordan. Special player guest coming up when we return to Outback in a moment on ESPN 950, Sports FM 100.5, and the Spider IMG Sports Network, powered by Ace Electric.
And Tucker to secondary, fumbles the football, loose on the ground, Spiders. And a big gainer that time for Tucker, but he was hit, lost the football, and the Spider defense comes up with their second turnover.
Second of 5 turnovers in that VMI game a little bit more than a week ago. We're going to talk about that with the guy you just heard mentioned in the play-by-play clip. Our defensive Spider with us at Outback today, Jerry L. Jordan, for the first time, sophomore defensive back, joins us, and then we'll talk some offensive football with one of the Spider captains, junior offensive lineman Thomas Evans. So we welcome both of you guys to Outback. Thank you for being with us today. Thomas Evans from the offense, Jerry L. Jordan from the defense. JJ, let's start with you because that's the highlight we just played. How much of a focus was getting turnovers last week to you guys as a defense? Because it obviously made a huge difference in the game when you got them.
Yeah, turnovers are a big emphasis every week. The defense coach stress running to the ball and creating turnovers and try to strip it. So whatever chance you have to come up with a turnover, try to get the ball, especially in the red zone. And that's what happened. They're having to be there and fell on it.
Yeah, how do you guys practice trying to get turnovers? I mean, that can be a little bit of a tricky thing. Sometimes the ball just bounces one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
How do you practice that?
Especially during the summer, we practice. This is a box drill where if they're throwing in the box, that means a lot of people around you have to fall on it. And if it goes outside the box, then you have to scoop and score. So, yeah, that was a big thing. That really helped me because a lot of people were around me at the time. So I just fell on it and did what the coach told me to do.
Tried the ball loose, didn't he?
Yeah. D. Jones, he had a great tackle on I think it was and I just happened to run to the ball. Like the coaches always emphasize running to the ball, and I was just there.
Eyes light up when you say
eyes lit up.
Danny, how even more emphatic was that one because of where it came on the field? As Gerald mentioned, it was not only in the red zone, I think it was inside the 10-yard line.
I'm pretty sure I said in the team meeting the next day there that was the biggest play of the game. I really thought that was the single biggest play of the game because they were driving and they had a chance to take a lead if they would have scored a touchdown there, and it was early, and then everything from that point on really went in our favor. And, I don't claim to be prophetic very often, but one of the things that did happen after the Io's first interception for touchdown, we've been talking all week about changing our looks and changing our leverage and doing some subtle things to confuse the quarterback. But I did grab most of the defensive guys and said, that's the first of many today. I said, don't think that that's the only one we're going to get. And sure enough, we went out there and had a really big day taking the ball away.
Yeah, what was that like, JL, for the defense to not only get the one you got and the one that Io got? I assume that one kind of set the tone for you guys when he did that on the first play of the game.
Yeah, that really did set the tone. It gave us a lot of confidence. Coaches told us what we were going to do. They told us they were going to air it out, and, we had to be in there to make plays.
When's yours coming?
It's coming.
It's coming. Thomas on the offensive side of the ball. How do you guys, we talked a lot about self-analysis of you guys through the first 3 weeks of the season. So do that for us from an offensive standpoint. I mean, I'm looking at the stat sheet. The numbers are pretty solid. I mean, you put 42 on the board, 31, even 21 against Maryland. It's 370 yards a game or so of offense right now. On the stat sheet, it's not looking bad. What are you thinking?
I think our consistency has been fairly good, and our ability to have a run-pass balance has helped us out a lot. Ability to run downhill and get to the second level.
Where's the offensive line right now? I mean, you lost a couple of really good key offensive linemen from last year's team that have been consistent starters. How's the group meshing together?
We meshed together great. There's a very strong unity within the offensive line. Burgos has done a great job stepping up in that new center role, and that's kind of like the lead of the offensive line, making all the calls, making sure we're all in the right place.
How difficult do you think that's been for him? People say offensive lineman, you play tackle, you play guard, you play center, you just play and you block. For him to make that change to all the things that position requires, what's it been like?
He's just done a great job. If it was tough for him, nobody would notice, because he stepped right into it and did a phenomenal job.
How about the guy that you're protecting? What's your analysis? I mean, Kyle's, he's I think I saw him yesterday. I called him a thinking's man quarterback. He's always thinking about the game. What's your perspective on how he's come along in just his sophomore season?
I think he's looked better every week. Our job is obviously just to give him as much time as possible. And I think he's done a great job just improving, and I guess a thinking quarterback's better than a non-thinking quarterback.
How much did you analyze the quarterback position, particularly as it relates to the offensive line, to make sure that they're giving Kyle enough protection, that they're opening the holes for the running backs, that kind of thing during the off week?
Yeah, it was a big part of what we try to get done. And Coach Fisher, I think, is just doing an outstanding job here with the offense and with the quarterback. And, he's calling a game right now that is offering opportunity for Kyle to have success. And, this will be a critical week here, as Thomas knows for sure. But, two things we got to do. We got to protect the football and protect our quarterback. If we do those two things, we'll win. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things we got to do against this outfit we're getting ready to play. So, bottom line. So, we're going to have to call a game in a way that allows us to protect our quarterback, okay, and then give us the best chance to protect the football. So, I think we're in a good spot, and but there's so much strategy that goes into it. You know what I'm saying? And there are teams that give up a lot of sacks versus teams don't give up many sacks. But a lot of it is just the scheme they're in and how quickly the quarterback gets rid of the ball, and then the calling of the game. And so I think we're in a good spot. But I do think that this is a critical week here for us to make some advancement here as we get into the start of conference play.
Hey, Thomas, talk a little bit about the differences for offensive linemen between protecting the quarterback, which is obviously at the top of the coach's list, and then opening holes for your running backs. If you're like most offensive linemen that have been on this show and we've talked to, they like to run block a lot more because you use your strength, you're coming off of the barrel, and I imagine it's kind of fun to block for the guys you've got behind you in Seth Fisher and Jacoby Green.
Absolutely. It doesn't really take away from pass protection because you try to be as physical as you can in the pass protection. Surely it's not going to be, as downhill as quick as the run game, but there's still many opportunities to be very physical in the passing game.
Both Jacoby and Seth are great runners. We can all agree with that, but they're different runners. Does that change your blocking, knowing who's getting the ball?
Yeah, it gives you a little more fire just to be like, these guys are running hard. We got to block for them. They're going to run their absolute tails off, and we got to get behind them and give them holes and give them opportunities.
Seth's almost like another blocker, though, isn't he? I mean, it's even with the football, right?
Yes, sir.
As strong as he is?
Yes, sir.
Speaking of strength, you are the strongest guy in that weight room from everything that we've been told, right? Yeah. Coach Rocco likes that.
I like strong football players.
But I know JJ doesn't shy away from the in high school.
Pound for pound. He may be strongest guy on the team. Pound for pound.
How do you feel about that, Thomas?
That's incredible for JJ. He puts up an absurd amount of weight. It's awesome for even a guy that would be twice his size. JJ is pound for pound incredible.
Where does that come from?
I've always been a hard worker. My father, he always just working hard in the weight room and in the classroom. So that's where that comes from.
Did it take some arm twisting to get you to understand that and do it? Some guys, I'm guessing maybe Thomas is one of them, think going in the weight room is a lot of fun. But a lot of other people think it's a lot of hard work. How about for you?
I like going to the weight room. I like working. I like being busy. I like just football, everything about it.
Good stuff. Take us into that weight room a little bit, Thomas, and just how emotional it gets in there, how fired up you guys get with Coach Stewart. I mean, we see you on the football field on Saturday and the emotion that's there, but I know I can hear the screams coming from that weight room upstairs in the Robbins Center.
Coach Stu does a great job of motivating us every day. Like, every day is an opportunity to better, to train, to get ready for the next opponent. It's never just come in and, just do the lift. It's always like, there's always a purpose. There's always like thinking about getting better, thinking about the next opponent, thinking about the next game.
How different is it in season as opposed to out of season in what you're doing? If at all?
I don't think there's much difference. I mean, obviously, off season we're in there more often. Maybe moving a little more weight, but in season we're still moving weight, still trying to improve. We want to be stronger in November than we are in August. Coach Stu always emphasizes that. And then just making sure your speed and moving the weights fast. We got a new program that measures meters per second output on how fast you're moving the bar when you're squatting and when you're bench pressing.
Huh. Interesting. How different has it become with this weightlifting stuff now, Coach, now that technology has infiltrated the weight room?
Well, I think like in anything else, you want to stay up with the technology, and I think Stu's done a great job with that, with kind of keeping an old school mindset, and right now it's the speed of the movements that is becoming more and more critical. It's not so much how much mass can you move, but how quickly can you move a heavy weight, and it's in all of our lifts. It's the ability to develop explosive movements, and Thomas is right on. I mean, Stu's one of those guys that I entrust my team to, and in the summer, I can barely high five my guys because of the way the NCAA rules are. I can barely give them a high five in the hallway. That's about the extent of what I'm allowed to do. So Stu's always talking about winning. He's always looking at the season. He's always trying to take what he's doing here to tell him how it's going to make him better out there. Because we're not entering strength competitions. We're not in weightlifting competitions. That's not what we're doing. But he's taking those skills and those abilities and he's transferring those into, this is what this will allow you to do out there on the field. And, great example, what JJ said was, he's a hard worker. He loves the weight room. How excited am I to be sitting here and to listen to him talk about, I like working hard. I love football. I love the weight room. Okay, beautiful. That's my kind of guy right there. Lunch is on me today.
And it's coming for them. So let's take a time out, come back with some more for Thomas Evans and Joe Jordan, our two special player guests. We'll do that in just a moment on ESPN 950, Sports FM 100.5, and the Spider IMG Sports Network, powered by AC Electric.
We know what it's like, that persistent nagging feeling that will only go away when you get away. For those with a passion for travel, there's the new Discover It Miles card. You earn unlimited 1.5 miles for every dollar you spend, and you can fly any airline anytime with no blackout dates. Just buy your ticket and use miles to credit your statement. Apply now and Discover will double your miles at the end of your first year. So go on, scratch that travel itch. Get the new Discover It Miles card today. Limitations apply. Double miles for new card members only. Learn more at discover.com/miles.
Hurry in to Outback for our limited time only steak and unlimited shrimp, starting at just $15.99. Hurry in for our sirloin and unlimited garlic herb shrimp or unlimited crispy shrimp with new volcano sauce. And let the bold flavors speak for themselves. Outback Steakhouse, done right. There are 5 great Outback restaurants in the Richmond area. Visit Outback.com for the location nearest you. Prices, products, and participation may vary while supplies last.
Can you handle a full rack? Buzz can. He's been smoking, chopping, saucing, and glazing barbecue his way for over 30 years, specializing in succulent, spare, tender baby back, and jumbo beef ribs with recipes handed down for generations. And don't forget about the award-winning pulled pork sandwiches, cooked daily over Buzz's signature hickory smoked wood. Stop by the original location at 1119 North Boulevard in the Fan, or the new Buzz and Ned's Real Barbecue at 8205 West Broad Street in the West End.
Hey guys, this is Big Alan. I want to talk to you about something serious, prostate cancer. 1 in 7 of us will develop it. I know firsthand because I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Fortunately, I was diagnosed early, and when caught early, it's treatable. I went to Virginia Urology where my doctor discussed my options, listened to my concerns, and took care of me in a thorough and professional manner. So if you're over 40, have a family history, or are African American, you need to talk to your doctor about an annual prostate cancer screening. Call Virginia Urology, 288-03.
Lunch is on the table, and the Spiders is on the air. Live from Outback Steakhouse, 7917 West Broad Street, on ESPN 950, Sports FM 100.5, and the Spider IMG Sports Network. Powered by Ace Electric.
From the gun, rush is coming. Laletta throwing for the near sideline. Diggs goes up and makes the catch at midfield. Can we give some kudos to that offensive line? Again, they brought a blitz. They brought the house. Laletta was able to sit back down there, plan on his back foot, get it out, no problems at all.
Kind of like that Thomas Evans when the radio analyst says, can we give some kudos to the offensive line? You guys don't get mentioned that often. That was from the first game of the year, too. That was from the Maryland game. Congrats on that, by the way. I'll mention to Chris, it brought a smile to your face. Obviously important with any quarterback, but especially a young quarterback like Kyle, right?
Yes, sir. Just giving him, as much protection, as much room as we can possibly do, and making him feel safe in that pocket.
What was the Maryland game like for you guys? Obviously a game that everybody likes to play, particularly at a school like Richmond, yet it's tough because it's the first game of the year and you're going up against an FBS opponent.
Well, we go into that game believing we can win.
Sure.
Like up front, that we're going to give it our all, no matter what. No matter who the opponent is, you have to have the same effort, the same mentality, and the same intensity every week.
What did you take out of that game, just from a learning process, to know you had 10 more weeks coming after that game?
I don't know. It was hard at first. You kind of have to sit down and think about it for a while, and it's kind of like, we can build on this. There's always opportunity to build, because I believe you usually get better from your first week to your second week.
Maybe more than any other 2-week period during the course of the year. Actually, do you buy into that the teams get better more between week 1 and week 2, Danny, than any other time in the season, or maybe not so much?
I guess I'd have to agree with that, but the issue is usually every team is going from week 1 to week 2 together.
True.
So it's not like there's no margin of error in there. I think that there is the open date discussion's always a unique discussion to me, because some teams come out really ready to play, and at a higher level some teams struggle to kind of find their groove, and the discussions about whether it's better early or late or in the middle, all those things. But I do think what happens, to your point, is there's so many things that happen in a game that you practice and you prepare your kids for, but you really can't expose them to it until the first game. So once the first game occurs,
they're exposed to everything that they have to get exposed to. Substitutions on and off the field, tempo of the game, physicality of the game, speed of the game, and then a lot of kids are playing for the first time.
Yeah.
So you can practice and scrimmage all you want. It's different than playing for the first time. So those things are all out of the way. So going from week 1 to week 2, there's fewer unknowns, as you move forward. So I think that's why it's a slogan that has some, context to it. But most teams are marching under the same calendar. Yeah.
Maybe to expand the picture to J.L. Jordan here, guys make more improvement between their freshman and sophomore years, which is what you're doing right now. Now, you played a little as the freshman last year, but you're certainly playing more this year. How different is that for you this year than it was a year ago?
I don't think it's any different.
No different, huh?
No, sir.
How come?
Expectations were always high as soon as I came here. Even playing as a freshman, I was just on a lot of special teams. Expectations were high, and they still are.
What about your comfort level of playing more just this year? Some things have happened. We've had some injuries in the secondary. You're playing better. I mean, you're going to force the coach's hand anyway by how you play, but what has your mindset been each week as you see some of your teammates going down? You're going to get more time, and also just that your level of play is getting better.
Yeah, I'm a lot more confident going through the spring that I didn't have freshman year. Time to learn the plays, time to know where everybody is supposed to fit. I know what I have to do. I know my position more better because I know everybody else's position.
How are you guys in the secondary kind of meshing amongst yourselves right now? And also, you've had a couple guys go out with injuries. How are you trying to keeping their chin up a little bit while they're on the sideline?
We're just uplifting them, talking to them whenever we get a chance, comforting them, and whether it's like around school or even on the field at practice, just keeping their head high.
How about you guys that are in the game? What's the kind of chemistry? Thomas talked about the offensive line and their chemistry. We don't talk as much about it maybe with the safeties and the cornerbacks. What's it like with the group that's back there?
Oh, yeah. We're a tight-knit group, Communication is key. We communicate a lot. And we just, because of that, we make plays. We know my man going to do what he's supposed to do. So it makes my job a lot easier.
Thomas, you guys are still coming in here for dinner every week, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Offensive lineman?
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday night. So
free advertisement.
Yeah, well, why not? We're in Outback. They're sponsoring the show. Might as well. If it's good enough for the Spider offensive lineman, it should be good enough for a family of 4
That's right.
to come in here, right? There's your slogan. Just came up with the slogan. Why aren't the D-backs coming in here? What's going on?
Oh, we watch film Thursday.
We're watching film. That's why you love this guy, isn't it? That's why you love it. He loves the weight room and he loves to watch film. That's awesome. Hey, you guys stepped aside from the table while we were going in the commercial break, so we talked about you, obviously. And a couple folks out here said, ask JJ a little bit about his background. We'd like to learn a little bit more about him, high school, that sort of thing. So you've got an empty canvas here. Tell us a little bit about Jerry Jordan.
So I'm from Fort Washington, Maryland. Went to DeMatha Catholic High School. It's about 2 miles from the University of Maryland. So going there and playing, it was a good experience. I know a lot of people there. DeMatha, they're ranked number 7 in the country right now. When I was there, the highest we got was 4. And we lost to a team in New Jersey, so that was devastating. And, I think DeMatha prepared me a lot for here.
Sounds like you got a lot of pride in high school, and we've had other kids, obviously, from DeMatha have sounded the same way. Is that the school spirit that's there at DeMatha?
Yes, it's really a brotherhood.
Yeah, it sounds, and that's a recruiting hotbed, isn't it, Coach?
Oh, no doubt, and it's a great school for us in terms of a good match. The academic, college prep, and all those things. And when you really think about from my position, my perspective, one of the neatest things that I get to do as a coach is to be able to work with young men, from his background, from his walk, from his area. And then here's Thomas Evans over here from the mountains of North Carolina, Franklin, North Carolina, small town, big hunter and fisher, you know what I mean? And so you got these young people that, they just told laughing
because I can tell the play unfolded, the play-by-play guy didn't know who caught this pass. Matt, play it.
For a chance to touch the football. I don't see put him in a 90 number, 94 maybe? 94. So.
Yeah, I'm still looking on the roster for 94 who caught that pass 2 years later, I can tell you. Hey, real quick, speaking of numbers, do you have like an inferiority complex? Because all of a sudden you're sharing your uniform.
Up and look as if they're going to go for the experience. Reign supreme. Lux Chevrolet in Ashland and online at luxchevrolet.com. Proud to be family owned since 1916.
We know what it's like, that persistent nagging feeling that will only go away when you get away. For those with a passion for travel, there's the new Discover It Miles card. You earn unlimited 1.5 miles for every dollar you spend, and you can fly any airline, anytime with no blackout dates. Just buy your ticket and use miles to credit your statement. Apply now and Discover will double your miles at the end of your first year. So go on, scratch that travel itch. Get the new Discover It Miles card today. Limitations apply. Double miles for new card members only. Learn more at discover.com/miles.
At UR School of Professional and Continuing Studies, we offer flexible and affordable degrees to help you start, advance, or change your career. Explore our newest graduate degrees in nonprofit studies and public history. Plus, check out our new bachelor's degree and certificate in information security. With evening classes and tuition starting at just $450 per semester hour, you can earn a UR degree on your terms. The University of Richmond School of Professional and Continuing Studies. We work for working professionals. Visit spcs.richmond.edu for details.
It's out there lurking, big, tall, and green. The grass monster. Is cutting grass taking up too much of your valuable sports time? Arthur's Electric Service has the Toro Time Cutter mower that can significantly reduce your mowing time. Toro simplified operation, zero-turn features, and comfortable ride will have you cutting smarter, not harder. Get the mower that's ready to cut when it goes out the door at Arthur's, located at 8910 Brook Road in Glen Allen. Stop by today to see the full line of Toro Time Cutters or call
Stone's Office Equipment. Check them out on the web at stonesoffice.com. Go Spiders!
This is the Spider Sportsline with head football coach Danny Rocco, live from Outback Steakhouse, 7917 West Broad Street on ESPN.
Right. Run that play again on the two-point conversion. I want to get Thomas's name right this time.
All right. I'll give you a heads up like I did last time.
Didn't help me last time, did it? I failed miserably.
Yeah.
From the inbox, Coach, at what stage of the season do you start opening up the playbook? Do you base it on an opponent, or do you have extra plays available each game based on opponent's defensive adjustments? That comes from Carolina Spider.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that it is week to week. You know, you really have to look at your opponent to try to decide what you think has a chance of working. I do think one of the things that, you know, I'll be very upfront about here to this stage, we don't have as much offense in as we did a year ago. Okay, now last year we had Mike and Mike, who were two fifth-year veteran quarterbacks, and they could process a lot more, a lot quicker. But you know, holistically, I kind of like it better right now because what we do well. What we do, we know how to do it. You know, we're one of the least penalized teams right now, I think, in the country. You know, I know we are in our league. We're one of the lowest turning the ball over teams. So those things all factor in. You know, as you open up the playbook, you do create a little higher probability for formation errors, procedural errors, penalties, ball disruption opportunities, things like that. But each and every week we are looking hard at the opponent, and we're trying to say they look vulnerable to this. How can we get to that, even if it's something that we don't necessarily have in our menu right now?
As Kyle develops and he gets more games under his belt, does that become more comfortable to do? I mean, I know we were kidding, but I do think he's a really intelligent kid at quarterback and can analytically figure out the game pretty quickly.
Do you know the least talk about item here with the quarterback in the passing game is his mesh with the receivers. Mm-hmm. So the quarterback can be the most veteran quarterback in the world, but if he doesn't have veteran receivers to go to, all these ideas are for naught.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing how these decisions are all made in real time by the quarterback first and foremost. I mean, where's the safety? Where do I go? What are my reads? But if the receivers aren't in on the same wavelength that the quarterback is, it's just an incompletion. You know, it's one step, foot too high, too low. So we do have some younger receivers, you know, and we are developing a number of very talented young receivers. So once again, if you're changing your passing game every week because you get all these great ideas, your execution falls off. You know, so that's kind of the trade-off. It's kind of our run game is not real extensive. You know, we don't have a lot of runs in there, you know, right now to this stage of the year. But the runs that we have, we execute. They know how to block them. They make their line calls. And so there's an element of precision that does come in when you don't offer a menu to your kids when you start the week in terms of game planning. And when you're not changing from week to week. And I've been at places before where every week the offense kind of looks different, and some weeks it works well, and then other weeks it kind of backfires on you a little bit.
All right, this last one would have been a good question for the players as well as for the head coach. Any extra motivation this week? Maine has done a good job against the Spiders in the past few years. They haven't just picked on Richmond, as we mentioned earlier. They've been at the top of the league, but any extra motivation because of history against the Black Bears?
I think so. I mean, I think, last year we probably played our worst game of the year. And, I could talk for 30 minutes on some of the behind-the-scenes realities of that. I'm going to not go there, but there's so many things that happen during the course of the week, and, even as yourself, and you're as connected as anybody, but you still only see what you see, and then as a fan, they see the game, they go to the game, but the things that start from Sunday to Friday to Saturday, and whether it's the trip or the injuries or the personalities involved, and we just had so much, we had so many things that week that created distraction, and I was so disappointed in myself that I couldn't nip it. I couldn't get it right, but I obviously didn't get it right. When it came time to kick that thing off, my guys were not ready to play, and we know that they recognize it. They watched the film last week. It's the great thing about the video. The big eye in the sky does not lie. So when you're watching the film and you're saying, is this all you got? Coach, I didn't play very well. Yeah, no kidding, And so that's the starting point. So I think there's a little extra. Maybe it's a prideful thing, for some of the guys that did not play well last year. And you talk about jersey numbers. It's interesting because they do wear their numbers. I mean, when you're watching a film, you're putting it on tape. That's one of my slogans. Put it on tape. Don't talk about it. Put it on tape. Show me on tape. Don't tell me you're going to have a good game. Put it on tape because I'm going to watch the tape the next day, and I'm going to see number 8 out there and see how he plays. And a lot of guys did not like what they put on tape last year. Okay, so I'd like to think that will be somewhat of an internal motivation for a number of our players.
You go back and watch the tape or listen to the tape of this show and see how we did today, too.
We did well today.
We did well today. I would agree with that. I don't know, what does the audience think?
Yes, sir.
There we go. We did well today. All right. Thanks, fellas. Thomas Evans, Jerry O'Jordan. Have a great game Saturday, 3:30 at Robbins Stadium. Our pregame coverage starts at 2:30 with the UR Bookstore Tailgate Show. Kickoff show at 3 o'clock. We're also on TV, WTVR-TV 6.3 and Comcast Sportsnet Plus. Saturday afternoon, there are still tickets available for Saturday's game. Stop by the Robbins Center ticket office or go online to richmondspiders.com. Thanks, Coach Rocco. We'll see you back here next Tuesday with the next edition of the Spiders Sportsline. See you at Robbins Stadium Saturday. So long, everyone.